Hello, John. How you doing?
Hi, Daniel.
Good to have you here. We're going to be starting shortly. Let's just wait for other people to join in.
All right.
All right, so we'll start exactly by 2:05. So if you know anybody who is supposed to be on the session, please ask them to join in so that we can get started. Hi everyone, good afternoon. Trust you're doing great. This is exactly 2. So we'll be starting in a few minutes. Let's just try to buzz everybody. If you know somebody who's supposed to be here, um, please buzz them to join in so that we can get started. I think this is a session nobody should miss, right? Okay, so in the absence, while we're waiting for other people, I'm going to start introducing myself, and I think each of us on the call can introduce ourselves just while we pass time for people to join in. So I'm Daniel Moran. I am a software engineer and also a community manager. I'm a community manager at Enyata currently, and I'm going to tell you what the Enyata community is all about in a bit. But I'm going to call somebody on my screen, and then they're going to tell me their name, what they do, and one fun fact about themselves. One fun fact about me is I think I'm quite inquisitive a lot, so you would always find me trying to learn multiple things at different points in time. Right. So I'm going to call the first person on my screen, who is Blessing. Hi, Blessing. Do you want to introduce yourself? Just tell us your name and what you do and one fun fact about you. Quickly. Sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just trying to engage us while we're waiting for that guys to start to come in before we start the session.
Oh, okay, it's fine. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Blessing Please. I am a product designer. One fun fact about me. I guess I like to make friends, but I don't know how to start the conversation. That's that's it for me. Thank you.
You can call somebody on your screen as well.
Okay, that would be Miriam. Thanks.
Hi, Marianne. Can you hear us?
Okay, if Miriam is not on the available, maybe Fola join me, please. Thanks.
Hi guys. I'm Fola Bello. I'm a product designer, and fun fact about me, I would say I love movies. I binge movies like a whole lot. Like, I mean, crazy. So, yeah. That's that point.
Okay. Paladin, you can call somebody else.
I'll say Yusuf.
I didn't get that. Okay, Yusuf. Hi, Yusuf. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? We have 1 more minute and then we'll get started. Okay, I'm guessing Yusuf is not here. Right. So, yes, we're going to get started. So we don't waste so much of our time here. We have an interesting topic here, which is the topic is quite interesting. And when I saw the topic, I was excited to moderate the session. Right. And the topic says unlocking user insights, AI powered analysis for user research. And I think as we are in the age of AI now, there's a lot of things that we're going to be used. We're going to try to get used to, right? We're going to try to get used to. There's automating. There's using AI for research. There's trying to use it for um, using it as your maybe your day-to-day tools and all of that, right? So I think this topic is quite interesting, right? It would enable you um, figure out how to be able to use AI more. Um, Make your processes faster, smarter, and easier, and even more data driven, right? So we have John Ogaga on the call. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Apologies, John. And he's a design manager. And I'm going to just try to read out his bio quickly, and then we're going to welcome him on stage, and he's going to talk to us. And then after that, we're going to take questions, and then all of that. So, like I mentioned earlier, my name is Daniel Umarin. I am a community manager at Enyata. And before the end of this call, I'll tell you what Enyata community does and how you can be a part of us. But let's read John's bio quickly. So, John is a product designer and a part-time indie designer who has shipped user-centered SaaS products for across B2B and B2C startups, and is now building a product as a designer with a foundation in both brand and product design. It focuses on building clear, scalable, and emotionally smart user experiences. Beyond his full-time role, he has built two design tools from scratch. Designwhiz, which is an AI-powered design productivity tool used by over 800 plus designers, and now evolving into a paid product. Rayna UI, a responsive component library system used by over 10,000 plus designers, built with a systematic structure for speed and scalability. He has confounded valuable products, including Syntheria, and now is building his portfolio platform called Stack. He brings a blend of execution, product design, product thinking, and visual systems to everything he designs. Ladies and gentlemen, with a round of applause, I want to see those emojis, right? Please welcome John Ogaga. Hi, John. How are you doing today?
Hi. Hello everyone. Hi Daniel. Hi Fola. Good to see you.
Good
Good
to
to be
have you
here.
here.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to be sure, am I loud and clear?
Yeah, you're quite audible.
Okay, awesome. So hi everyone. My name is Gaga. By the way, my name is Gaga and John is my surname. So Gaga is my first name. Just putting it out there. All right. So I believe I have the floor. Do I?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Please go ahead.
Okay, awesome. 1 sec, please. Okay, I will be sharing my screen now so we can get started. And if at any point, please, nobody can hear me or there's kind of like whatever, just notify me immediately. Thank you. For some reason, I can't share my screen. I'm not allowed to share my screen. I don't think that's something that help me with Daniel.
Weird. That's weird. Let me see. Can I share mine? I don't have your slide though. Not sure what you can share. However, if you can share your slide with me, sure I can share for you. Does that work?
Okay. Yeah, I think that works.
Okay. You can just paste it in the link in the chat box.
Okay. Okay, so I've sent it in the chat box now. Should be able to access
Okay.
it.
Opening that now. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
All right.
I can't see your screen. Okay, so I will try to just one sec. Okay, I think I'll just keep this here so that I can see, because I also want to like navigate through my own side of the slides. Okay, hi everyone. Good afternoon again. My name is Gaga, and I would be walking you guys through like a very simple concept, which is pretty much the concept of using AI to help you analyze user research. And I believe amongst us here are product designers, product managers, or UX researchers. Well, I, for one, am a product manager that wears many hats. And just like any other tool, AI is another tool here to help us be better and help us deliver faster. So I'll be walking you through my own personal experience and thoughts as to how you can actually use AI in your workflow to help you with user research. Now, if along the line you have questions, I would highly recommend you take note of them. You can drop them in the chat or take note of them on your notepad or anywhere you might be taking notes, so that after I'm done, I shall walk you guys through. I shall then now take questions and finish up the session. So please, Daniel, help me go to slide 3 because I shall begin. Hi, Daniel. Is the screen frozen? Or am I no longer audible?
Audible. I think Daniel's screen is frozen.
Yeah, I really don't know why I can't see my screen.
Yeah, same
Do
here.
I-
Let me try and get what is it called?
Hold on, let me check.
To fix that.
Okay. Do I need to like leave and join back in?
No, I don't think it's from your end. I think you also sort of
Hold
set
on.
it to.
Yeah, let me check.
Okay.
Please check now.
Yes, I can share my screen. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Is there a way to stop Daniel from presenting? Can I go ahead to present? Or want to see how I can stop Daniel from presenting so I can present?
Oh, go ahead and present. I don't think you need to stop it to automatically take over.
All right. Okay, I think I'll just do this. All right. Can you guys see my screen clearly? Okay, awesome. Thank you. So now, before I go into the business of the day, first of all, thank you everyone for your patience in helping us sort out this technical issue. But now we're good and set. First question I have for everybody is, as of now, do you in any way, shape, or form use AI in your workflow? And if you do, just drop a thumbs up. If you don't, there's an opposite thumbs up that you can also drop. If you don't use AI on your in any shape or form in your workflow, you can give it thumbs down, and if you do, thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So most of us here use AI in any way, shape, or form. Now, since that is the case, meaning this is not a brand new concept that you're not familiar with, so this is most likely going to be very familiar with you. Now, what does it mean? What does it mean when we say unlocking user insight with AI? What does that actually mean? Now, user insight pretty much refers to turning user data. And when I say user data, this could range from transcript, from interviews, it could be surveys. So most likely qualitative data, that are surveys, interview scripts, or feedbacks from customers, and you can use it to get insights. You can drive product decisions. And the very typical concept about user experience or UX, whatever the case is, has to do with building an experience that matters and is worth the time to users. And one of the best way to build a product that matters is by getting user insight. And the best way to get user insight is through qualitative. Well, one of the best ways is through qualitative data. Now, when we add AI into this, what does this mean? It means we are using AI to accelerate the analysis process, to help us scale decision making, to help us summarize ideas, to help us theme things that we want to get. It helps us derive insight, and also helps us validate ideas pretty much on a faster scale. Because I know how it is to go through tons of transcripts just to be able to come up with an analysis so that you can drive product decision. But using AI can pretty much increase that workflow for you. Now, why it matters now is because product teams, startup teams collect data fast and quickly. And if you're already working in a space where the company you're working with or product they are building already has user input and user data. Oops, Nigeria has happened. Give me a minute.
Hi guys, apologies. I think something similar to what happened to John just happened to me. My internet froze for some unknown reason. Apologies, and thank you. Okay, John was able to present his screen. Apologies, guys. So let's just give John a minute.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Nigeria happened. Anyways, so back like I never left. So yeah, back like I never left. So pretty much what I was driving at is that teams gather data as quickly, either through emails, customer feedback. And we know how it is when you're using a product and there's an issue and you're jumping straight to customer care. Like all these things are data. So if you're the other end, you're receiving this, whether you're the designer, the UX researcher, or the likes, you need to be able to move fast. And this is where AI help comes into place. Now, I'm going to try to make sure this is as informative and instructional as possible. Now, how does this work? Now, analyzing interview scripts and feedback with AI, what it is, why, and how all of this can fit in together. Now, this analysis being processed by AI pretty much means you have to feed the raw inputs into AI, into any AI assistant platform. Now, we have common examples: ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, whatever the case you want to use. As long as it is AI powered, depending on what works best for you anyway, you can actually use that. And I'll try to keep this also neutral. Now, feeding these raw inputs into any AI assistant platform can help you structure insights and outcomes. This could help you with maybe coding discovery, looking out for consolidated teams, looking out for sentiment in certain profiles, and also looking out for the emotional tones as well, because design has everything to do with emotion as well. It's also part of the experience, and you can also try to detect what certain tone or emotional picture customers are trying to paint, and you can actually dig deep with that with the help of AI. Now, these outputs are structured in a way that you can pass it off to your team so that you guys can build user journeys together, set up product hypotheses, and even come up with experimental designs. It's beneficial for everybody at this use case. Now, the reason why this works is because large language models are trained to recognize patterns, recurring phrasing, and sentiments. And this can help you scale faster when you have like a lot of information that you have to analyze quickly. One second. Yeah, this can help you analyze things faster and quickly. And at the end goal is that you can extract meaningful units, you can get goals and pain points, and also emotional markers. You can understand, you can propose things to be done across different inputs. You can also find out clusters and generalize participants' pain points and find the solution at the end of the day. Now, how all of this fits into a natural product lifecycle is by first, you need to start with a clear question. What do you want to do? What question do you have? Is it, why are users? Example would be like, why are users dropping out during this verification? This will all help in your prompt design, because what I'm actually teaching you here, even though it says unlocking user insight with AI, is pretty much prompt engineering your way, prompt engineering UX research. Pretty much, that's just the whole idea of this. And once you have your good question defined, the next step here is to prepare your data. Now, I will talk about some little ethics that you can also apply here, which is keep the sensitive information anonymous so that you don't give AI sensitive information. So if it means taking out names, removing certain emails, or taking out certain concepts that are just too sensitive, and you can also sometimes generalize certain things so that it is enough context for AI to give you an outcome, and not too sensitive that you are just spilling everything to your AI chatbot. So keep information anonymous, clean up the transcript and feedback, and then feed it into your AI. Now, I always recommend you break your transcript into short chunks or smaller sizes so that it's easier for the AI model to consume that data, understand it, and give you a most likely better feedback at the end of the day. And then you can now begin to aggregate, summarize, and get recommendation or themes or measurable outcomes at the end of the day. But finally, and most importantly, you have to validate, you have to review it, you have to make sure that what you are getting is in line with what you're most likely expecting or an idea. If you go into this blindly, it's most likely garbage in, garbage out. So whatever you give to AI is what you get out. But at the same time, like they always put, AI is prone to make mistakes. So you also have to make sure that there is a review section. So this is a possible workflow cycle that you can use for yourself in terms of trying to generate user insights and with the help of using AI as your workflow. Now, let's take a closer look of why this is actually necessary. First of all, there is speed. So if it takes you a week to analyze over 20 interviews, with AI, that's obviously going to go faster. You're most likely be able to do that a week's worth of work in a day, which would allow you ship faster. And if you're working in a startup space where things move fast, you'll be able to accelerate with your team members, and you have shorter feedback loops between product changes and iterations as well. And AI can also follow strict guidelines and rules, given that you set them and give them. So it makes it easier for you to create, auditable projects across. It also makes it easy for you to refer to information across as well. And now I want to quickly walk you through some principles and guardrails too. So I have 4 principles here, which is the human in loop, evidence first, and evidence first, iterative verification, and 2 neutral workflows. So what does human in loop mean as a principle? What it pretty much means is we are responsible for the final interpretation of whatever we're giving. AI produces an output, you have to review it, you have to interpret it to make sure that it is tangible enough to share. And in some certain scenarios, you may need to give more context, so that you'll be able to get what you're looking for. So there's always the first principle of ensuring that you are involving thorough investigation of what is happening in that AI output. Second principle is the evidence first output. Now, this means you should be explicit with everything you're sharing, so that, because AI is garbage in, garbage out, you don't expect it to give you what you did not give context about. So this matters because it can prevent overclaiming information that is not necessary or that is not important. Now, the third one is iterative verification. This reduces the bias that may happen. Now, first off, we have human bias, which is the bias that we may have within ourselves when carrying out a particular research. Now, this principle helps you take away bias and allows there to be neutrality, keeping questions and information neutral so that you can summarize what is going on. You can counter certain informations that you have, maybe certain thoughts or certain product discussions, and even counter certain ideas that you are having with AI conversation as well. Now, with tools, I like to keep things neutral because sometimes I span across ChatGPT to Perplexity or Claude to Gemini. So what I'll try to show you guys are things that would work with whatever AI tool that you tend to use. And how this workflow is going to span out, let me explain. And the first one is, before I even move on, has anybody had a situation where you are trying to get an output from ChatGPT, but for some reason, what you're asking for is A, what is giving you is like Z. It does not tally at all, and you're wondering where did it get this context that is coming from? Has that happened to you? Does it happen to you? Give me like a thumbs up. Yeah, that is a very common concept that happens, and I would also try to show things that you can do to reduce that. So back to this. Now, an end-to-end workflow on how this would work, like I've mentioned before, is you start off by defining your research and what exactly you're looking for. What is success to you? And you want to be specific. So your goal might be to reduce onboarding, dropout, or whatever. Your question can be specific, like why are people dropping out at this point? That is specific question, specific end goal, and you can attach success metrics to it as well. This helps shape the data you're trying to collect, one, and this also shapes the data that you're sourcing out for to impute into your AI chatbot. Now, the next one is to remove personal information. The next step is to remove personal information. You can add timestamps if you want. That's absolutely fine. And you can decide whether you want to analyze all the data or you want to, take out certain information from all the data and then use that to get specific things. Because again, garbage in, garbage out. If you put every information if you take all the data into your AI and there's some information that is not relevant to your goal or the question you're asking for, it might affect the output you're going to get at the end of the day, because there are now informations that it is not necessary for the AI to understand to give you the output that you want. So you need to decide whether you need to analyze all the data, if all the data is necessary for what you're looking out for, or you need to simplify that and take out samples. And then use the chunking approach. Now, I really recommend splitting long transcripts most likely long transcripts to shorter chunks. So aim for like 200 to 800 words. I usually just eyeball this, to be very honest, because I have experimented with too much information. So I know around what range is safe to chunk. So if you don't know that, you can use a word count to make sure that you're only copying and pasting around 800 words per chunk for best performance. And then lastly, validate the end goal. If you are not the key researcher, have the key researcher validate the outcome. If you're the key researcher, validates the outcome to ensure that there are no unnecessary errors at the end of the day. Now, example of something like this coming to play would be, a good example for a research question could be, why are 35% users dropping out during onboarding verification? What causes users to prefer this competitor over this, depending which friction points during payment are most likely happening. Now, I'm using fintech related terms here because I know fintech space is very common in our space. So something that some of you might be able to relate to, I believe. But even if, one thing I need to understand here with the kind of questions that are being here is that they are as specific as possible. And it has enough context to be able to give you the kind of result that you want to do. So you're going off being vague and you're trying to be as specific as possible. Now, this matters because a clear question prevents open-ended analysis, which can give you undesirable outputs. So your research questions needs to be very clear so that it maps your outcome very clearly, because this is a very key thing. Instead, you end up being frustrated. And your question also determines what the AI is also going to do. If you want to reduce onboarding and dropouts, you can ask AI to prioritize questions or transcript that relates to, dropouts or maybe user frustration around the onboarding section, if that's what you're looking for, dropout and onboarding. And then at the end of the day, you can now get recommendations to be able to solve that particular problem. And type of analysis that AI can also help you with is persona generation. You can definitely use AI to generate personas, suggest personas, brainstorm behavioral patterns, common behavioral patterns, and possible end goals as well, so that you can have a persona that you're actually creating an experience for. Now, you can also use AI to help you out with journey mapping. You can annotate transcript segments and give you touchpoint markers. You can create sections depending on what are the common recurring themes that are happening. I can create journey maps with AI to help you to reduce any blocker flows that these users may be having. And then the last one is idea validation. You can definitely have conversations with AI to be able to validate an idea, think through the idea thoroughly, and know if it is worth exploring, and also to come up with an extensive product required document that you can now share with him so that you guys can debate about it. Pretty much that. Now, in terms of prompting, so this is like a simple touch point on prompt engineering. In terms of prompting and how this would work, some of the fundamentals about how you actually write your prompts to engage your AI model to be able to help you break down user insights would be to first assign it a role. And this could be URA dash. What is that specific thing that you want it to do? Assign it a role. Next thing is be explicit about your tasks. I need you to summarize, make a list, recommend, suggest, analyze, be specific. That should be the next statement in your prompt. And then the next one now will be, if you're going to give it the data, you're going to let it know that I'm going to provide you X amount of data and I need you to understand them, and I'll give it to you in chunks. Then you can now begin to piece out that data bit by bit or chunk by chunk. And then you can also be specific about the output. Now, personally, I use JSON for when I'm trying to generate image or come up with like an image format. But for user insights and transcripts, I most likely just use lists, and I do document. So that is the two formats I usually like receiving mine in. And yeah, that's pretty much it in how you want to understand the prompting. So first off is give it a role, be specific about your tasks, inform it beforehand that you're going to be sharing data and the amount of data you're going to be sharing. If it's going to be a lot, if it's going to be less, if it's a specific number, you also want to specify that. And then your final output format at the end of the day, you want to also be specific on that. So an example of what this would look like is this. You are a UX researcher with a task to, do this, either recommend, synthesize, cluster, analyze this data. You can paste the data if it's, paste data. And I want you to return this in a list format or bullet point format with key themes or definition or quotes. And you can also give it constraints too. You can let it know to, not go beyond this part. You might let it know you want it to quote, you want it to segment each problem statement in tools or add additional quotes. That's also very possible as well. So I feel like at the end of the day, your imagination is your limitation in how you want to prompt engineer your AI model to give you what you want at the end of the day. Now, I have some practical tips I'll share with you. But before this, I want us to do a hands-on practice using Gemini to get user insights. Would you guys like to see that? If you'd like to see that, let me see a thumbs up. All right. 1 second, please. Let me switch my screen so that I'll be able to. Let me stop sharing and then share again. Okay. Yes. All right. So this is a hands-on practice exercise that we're going to be doing together. And we're going to figure out, this, all I've just said in practical form. And so you can also see how it plays out. So obviously I use AI to generate all of this. So we're going to be using this as test and guide. So this is going to be like this is going to be an experiment we're going to do together. So are you guys ready? Thumbs up if you're ready for me to start. All right, nice. Okay, so what we have here is we have a data set. So in case you notice me looking up, that's because my other screen is here. So we have a data set that includes interview scripts, we have survey responses, and we have App Store feedback snippets. Now, this is what we're going to use to analyze, understand what is going on, and maybe, have recommendations on what to do next. So we're going to start from the beginning. So the first prompt I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this and I'm going to my Gemini. I'm using Gemini for this. Apparently, I heard that Gemini is better for product managers to use and do stuff. Does anybody agree with that? Or which do you prefer, Gemini or ChatGPT? I feel like they have their different use cases where, what do you guys think first off? Do you have like particular preference in terms of which AI you use for user research as opposed to which AI you use for image generation? You can drop it in the chat actually if you have like particular preferences. I would like to hear what you guys use. Or use GPT for user research. Interesting. I use GPT for image generation. Interesting. I use the opposite of what Fola. I do the opposite of what Fola does. Claude for major prompting and for AI generations. Interesting. Okay, that's cool. You see, we all have different use cases here. So let me begin. So I'm going to paste this here. And my prompt is you are a UX researcher. Summarize the following interview excerpt in 3 concise bullet points. I think I want to make it 6 just for dramatic effect. Focusing on user goals, pain points, and hi Fola.
Okay.
We can't see your screen is black.
I can see his screen on my end though. Is it better now? I think he has zoomed in.
It's just showing clean blank. Maybe it's my hand. Let me do my comeback.
Okay.
Is this happening to anybody? If you drop it on the, if you can see my screen clearly, can you just do thumbs up?
Okay. I think we're good.
Okay.
I think it's Fola's network.
Yeah, so sorry for that. All right. So you are a UX researcher, and I'm defining a role here, and I want you to summarize the following interview experts in 6 concise bullet points, focusing on user goals, pain points, and common user emotions. Then I want you to list 3 to 5 candidate codes or short phrases. Provide up to 2 direct quotes from the. So I want to make some adjustments to these prompts. Let me see. So I have, these are the interviews, but I want you to also do, you know what? These are entertainment and movie that for workshop. Okay, hold on. Okay. So quick notes here is when I say keep sensitive information anonymous. Example is this. So instead of putting maybe the person's specific name or email address, you could generalize it by saying interviewee 1 or interview 1 or transcript 1. And rather than putting out the specific name, you can either call it user is participant. So you see, these are like generalized terms that does not take away from the information, but at the same time, it does not give the full sensitive information out there. And sometimes it also is safe to read through the data you want to piece so that you are sure that no sensitive information is hidden in the transcript. And if it is, you can always rewrite that out. Either take it out or you rephrase it so that it seems more generalized and it doesn't take away from information. So I'm going to take this here. I'm going to copy it and I'm back here. So I want you to, okay, I'll just keep the prompt the way it is. Provide 2 direct quotes from each that supports their pain points. Then here are the interview transcripts. Okay. All right. No, I'm just going to. So let's see what's going to happen now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
Can
we
you see
can.
my screen? Thumbs up, please. Thank you. Okay. So here's user research summary. So let's look at it together. So far we're seeing here the summary of this interview script is saying that there's an onboarding friction. User goal is to try the app quickly, but they experience frustration and annoyance during verification. Okay, so verification is an issue. In the onboarding, there's lack of transparency. User goal is to budget and manage money, but they feel misled by frustrated hidden fees. And let me skip on to candidate code. So these are the things that are common. There's a transparency, so lack of transparency, and there's common friction across. There's an accessibility issue, and this have delay in support, and there's a feature request here. So let me see what the feature request is. Why users goal is security, which they feel by much advice. They may worry about unclear data sharing policies. Also has to be features, and that also has to be one feature to run up. User goal is to resolve problems quickly. User goal is to easily read the app. Users is fast. I can't find the feature request here. I mean, I can ask it to be specific and let me know what is the specific feature request from this. But let me move on first. So these are supporting codes. Oh, hold on. Okay, I use another app for that. I mean, I need to go and look for where this phrase is there. If your app had that, I probably will keep more funds here. So I need to look for these phrases here to see what the feature request is. But anyways, the offer conditions were hidden in terms and I missed them. Well, so these are quotes that support the issues that are cut across here. And let me move on to my next prompt for the sake of just this workshop. I mean, just looking at this, I'm more curious, but let me try to see if I can do a little bit. Can you specify can you make a list of specific feature requests from the interview transcripts? Let's see if I can get something specific. Okay, so yeah, I got my question answered. So something that they need is a transfer status, a clear ETA or a reason for delayed transfers instead of just pending. And this is actually really specific, and in my opinion, this is also useful information for a product build. Free transparency, a pop-up notification that shows the exact fee before a user confirms a transfer. I mean, maybe pop-up is not the right way to go for this, obviously, but at least you understand that users want to see the fee before they take out the transfer transaction, which is actually really good. Accessibility, so font sizes, color contrast. So this is, design choices that would foster accessibility. Okay, a feature to set saving goals that automatically rounds up spare change. Interesting. So yeah, this is actually really good. So let's move on to my next prompt here. Now my next prompt here is to aggregate the code from all trunk summaries and ask here to cluster them into themes. So I'm just going to copy this here. Well, one thing to note is you don't have to sound overly robotic with your AI prompting. One thing I like to do that I do very often is I use my voice to chat feature a lot so that it allows me give extra context to information I want the AI to understand beyond if I'm just typing it myself. But for the sake of this, I'm not going to do that. So your RX is feature giving the list of candidate code from multiple interview from the interview chunks, cluster them into 6 teams. For each team, provide a name, one sentence definition, supporting code list, number of occurrence, and one respective code. Return as I don't want JSON. And I don't also want to give me a list. I want to see what to give me without that. I'm assuming it to let me see what to do. So can you guys give me a thumbs up if you guys are understanding the process so far, and if you are still following up with me? Okay, nice. So here's the thematic analysis. Now, user research team. So first off, there's a transparency team. User lacks clear, timely, accessible information, supporting code transparency. This happens with interview 1, 2, 3, 7, and 8. Awesome. So this is actually really good because in case you want to go back to that transcript for more detail, or in case you want to further conversation with that interviewer, you can always, you know who they are, and I can go and ask more detail. Quote, I got charged a fee and everything. Awesome. Friction and efficiency is another cluster. User encounter obstacles, supporting codes, friction, support delay. You occurred with interview 1 and 5. And this is the quotes, and then we have them on and on. So good. Now, if this is like enough information, I can ask it to give me a report analysis that I can share with my team members. But I still have a couple more prompts to do for more info. I'll copy this one because the next step here now is to assign sentiment, and let's look at which teams that seem very severe. So basically, we're trying to prioritize here. So you're a UX researcher. For each team, rate the overall sentiment, positive, neutral, negative. So these are the rating statuses, and assign severity from 1 meaning low, 5 being critical, and provide 2 supporting quotes and 1 counter example quote if available. Explain in 1 sentence why this is severe, why the severity was chosen. Run this against the cluster teams. All right, so let's see what the result is going to look like. So now I want to prioritize issues that are actually very severe so that if we're making product decisions, we are at least making that based off on the severity from these user interviews. Okay, so the very top one, the top one on the list here is transparency. So the biggest issue a lot of users are facing, I mean, that makes sense because if you go back here, we can see that transparency has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different interviews complain about their issue with transparency. So it only makes sense that this is very critical and the top. So these are supporting codes. These are the rationale. Lack of transparency directly impacts users' financial decisions, trust, and feelings of security. Awesome. So the next one is friction and inefficiency. And then accessibility is given 4. Fair. This is the rationale. Then there's feature gaps, which is obviously 3. And I think that's it. Okay, so I've got to my this is my Gemini Pro. I absolutely forgot to sign into that one. But let's see, move on. And my next prompt here is from the top 3 teams. Provide 1 to 2 product recommendations for each. And let's see that. So now let's look at product recommendations for each. And I think after that, last thing I'll do is I'll do a summary report so that I can present that to team members. So okay, so these are recommendations right now. Now, the principle of human loop that I mentioned, this is where it comes in very well, because again, this is just suggestions. They are not set in stone. This is what you must do. Now, here is recommending a disclosure pop-up. You don't have to do a disclosure pop-up, as a UX researcher or as a product designer or a product manager. If you have a better, more inline user experience method or flow that would solve this problem, please recommend and suggest that. You can even go a step further if you want to ask it to give you 2 suggestions per thing, so that you're not stuck on one suggestion and you don't know what else might possibly be. So you can ask it to give you 2 suggestions. And I want to try something just randomly here to see what it will possibly give me. Let me go back to my prompts. And I want I want you to give me. Okay, I found what I'm looking for. So for each product recommendation, I want to see two recommendation suggestion and one uncommon or unorthodox products, uncommon products recommendation / idea that may solve the user's pain point / problem. I'm just curious to actually see what it will give me. Okay, so first one you recommended was the pop-up still. The other one, it shows transfer status indicator. Uncertainty from pending transfers causes dissatisfaction. Okay. Then the next one, it says transparency ledger. This is the public facing page that mimics transaction ledger, showing every single time user data is accessed by third party. Maybe not. Maybe this might work for an admin side in case this customer a customer reaches out complaining about something. This can give extra level of transparency that customer care can be able to provide to that user. So this might work on an admin level. Then this next one is the first one is this issue is inefficiency friction. So it's recommending a selfie or ID verification. Then the next one is escalation support team. The long wait times and unhelpful bots are extremely frustrating. Same was giving immediate accurate queue times for human support. And this one says support SEOs button with priority. For users who have already spent more than 10 minutes in the support queue, an SEOs button appears, activating this routes their chats to dedicated premium support team members. I mean, this is not a bad idea. It just would mean if this is what taking a stab at, it would mean to figure out how to determine users that are premium and how to prioritize that if that happens, because you don't want a situation where every member gets a more than 10 gets this past this mark and then everybody now gets this and it's just going to be more chaos. So it's not a bad idea to get a situation where that can allow you go past and queue, because right now what I'm thinking about is that being in a support queue for more than 10 minutes, or it can be greater than 10 minutes, means that you are in a serious situation or in a situation that actually needs help. So that one is possibly valid. And the next part will now be how to determine users that are premium that gets this feature. Maybe it could be users who have used the app for maybe large transactions. So if you have a large transaction user now, they might be the ones that have access to this kind of things when they are in a support queue longer than 10 minutes. So, and I would not have thought about this if not for like being curious enough to dig deep. So, yeah. So finally, now I'm going to ask for a analysis report. But before I do that, does anybody here have any particular curious question they want to ask this AI chat in relation to the research data that we're working on right now, if you've been following?
So I think if you have questions, you can just raise your hand and then go ahead and take them one after the other. In relation to this, of course. No questions from anybody. Are we all following? Okay. Okay, Yusuf says no question. So I guess we can continue.
All right. So I want to just get a detailed analysis report that I can share with stakeholders, and just make this as detailed and comprehensive as possible. All right, so we have a potential working document, analysis document that can be shared in a meeting with stakeholders and what's not. And you have next steps. So engineering focus will be this, this, and that. And you can go extra, because this is an entire chat. You can just keep having conversations around to verify certain things, to build like your either a deck presentation or what's not, what the case is. So yeah, that was a quick example. And just quick one is some quick checklist for you is, before you run your AI, always make sure that you have defined your questions. You know the kind of questions you want to have. Now, there's room for curious questions that you did not plan for, so that's fine. But just the way I had my stages of prompt that I want to get, like things I want you to be able to do for me, something similar. Now, this could be in questions, it could be in prompts. Then remove personal data and then get the data set. The next thing is, during your run, don't bombard information, chunk your information. You can use summary information, so you can ask it to summarize as well. And then cluster them into themes so that it is easy. It was very easy now to read that breakdown, as opposed to trying to read everything here word for word. And the last thing about the checklist is, after the run, verify everything that has been done. Don't just assume AI is 100% right. Verify what has been done. Double check so that you are sure everything is fine. Now, some troubleshooting tips is, if your AI is beginning to be delusional and to make up things and hallucinate, you can always ask it to return back to the code that you shared and to be verbatim in it. Return only things that have given you from the data set, and there's nothing there, tell me that there's nothing there. Don't make up stuff. Another one is, you also want to make sure that you are involving yourself in validating the output of whatever you're being given, so that you can spot issues before they happen. And other practical tips I would recommend is, rerun your prompt if it did not give you the desired outcome. Rerun the prompt with the specifics and clarify things in the prompt as well. And then you also want to save prompts that worked for you, so that you can always use it in a next time situation. So you can keep a library of prompts that works for particular outcomes that you need it to do. And that brings me to the end of my session. And I believe I am open now to questions, comments, what have you. And I hope this session was as instructive as possible to your liking.
Okay. Okay, yes, we already have questions. So, I could you can go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for the insightful section. I just have one question to ask. In the prompting, you continue to remind the AI of its role. That is, when you want to give another instruction, you kept on using you are a UX researcher. Do we have to always do that in our prompting?
I like to think of it as best practice, and I also like to think of it as in case the AI wants to begin to hallucinate. That is why I tend to do it. You don't have to. It's not a compulsory thing, especially when like you are neck deep into the conversation you're having with AI for that. But I like to do it for like my first 3 prompts. I always like to re-specify its role. And I also like to do it when I want it to switch role within a chat. So I think I have it here. On my last prompt, I didn't do it here, but my last prompt, the role was you are a UX researcher, right? No. Okay, my last prompt is actually you are a product manager, because I wanted it to be able to write me a product required document. So I would have to switch role and say to you're a product manager, or sometimes I can even add seniority level to it and be like, you're a senior product manager. And I can even sometimes give it experience with 10 years experience working for SaaS companies or being a consultant for B2B payment systems, things like that. So yeah, I like just think of it as best practices, but it's not something that you have to always do all the time. Did I answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Does any other person have questions? Any other person, comments, questions, clarifications? Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Yusuf. I can barely hear you though.
Sorry. I remember this thing when you were talking about the actionable suggestions that are during the exploration of the customer survey and stuff. So there was this part there that talks about when a customer is on the queue for about 15 minutes, I think 10 minutes, longer than 10 minutes or so, that it should turn it into a priority stuff. I can't remember the full text. So
I'm losing you. I cannot hear you clearly anymore.
okay, I was saying that when the customer, you said, sorry, the AI bot suggestions are when the customer is on the queue for like 10-15 minutes, so it should turn it into a priority queue or be priority something. So in that case, I think I want to ask a question. Is it not depending on the number of staff the organization has to do such things, like to attend to customers? Because if we keep adding customers to queues as well, it will still be like the same thing as not as the number one without the priority. I'm not sure if you get what I'm trying to say.
I think I do understand what you're trying to say. I mean, that was like I mentioned, that was AI suggestion. Doesn't necessarily mean that that is what is supposed to be done, if you understand me correctly. That was a suggestion to solve a problem at hand. So it's left for you to iterate on that. It's left for you to review it and see if it is worth it or if there's a better approach to it. And sometimes it just means you have question to bring to the team or to the table, where it's like, what is the potential of this working out? If this idea was to be explored, is there a way that it is actually feasible? Is there a way that it can actually work? Is there a way that it would improve the experience? So in my opinion, is like every idea is welcomed, even AI suggestions are welcome, and sometimes it allows you just things outside of the box that you most likely would have not thought about. So it is left for you to iterate on AI's idea suggestions, and it is also left for you to expand on any idea that you feel like is worth expanding on. And the goal of this is so that you move away from being stuck on a blank page and not knowing, ideas or product recommendations to solve certain user problems. Does that make sense?
Very much. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Yusuf.
Okay, thank you, Yusuf. Any other question from anybody?
And you can also drop your questions on the chat as well, relating to what I've just talked about, or maybe a slight relation question to as well. I think that will be fine as long as I can answer it.
So while we're waiting for every other person, I mentioned I was going to talk about what any other community is about. So Enyata community, how many of us know Enyata, or many of us have heard of Enyata before? Nobody. Okay. So let me just quickly tell you what Enyata is about. Enyata is a software engineering company, and they build enterprise products for companies, right? So you most likely have interacted with one of the products Enyata has built before that you most likely don't know about, right? But aside from what Enyata does, Enyata likes to give back to the community. So they have like a community of 6,000 people in tech, or new buyers in tech, or people who are doing stuff outside tech as well, where we try to communicate and design programs for community, right? And I think what they've done pretty much, they've done things around hackathons. And recently, there's a new project that we just launched in the entire community, which is like a talent board. And it's becoming, even though it's recently just launched, it's becoming a big thing whereby people are signing up and people are starting to get jobs off the talent board, right? So if you would love to join the entire community, or sign up on the talent board, .enya.com talent board. Also as well as DM and or just search and go to the community page, and you also be able to join the community. So yeah, that's pretty much that from my end, and I'm guessing nobody else has any questions or any other thing to say. But if not, I think we can call it a day. This session has been quite insightful, even for me who is not a product designer or UX researcher. I think I've learned a thing or two, and I hope you have done so as well. It's been nice moderating the session. Thank you very much, John. I'm sorry for not pronouncing your name right, but yeah, this has been nice.
Thank you, thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Fola. Thank you, everyone, for listening to me talk for 1 hour. It was a pleasure.
All right, bye, guys. Do have a nice day. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.